Hey everyone, welcome back to Virtualization How To. And if you're a home lab enthusiast like me, you're always on the lookout for the best mini PCs to power your home lab environment with the best bang for your buck. Today I'm diving into the Asus NUC 14 Pro. This is the first NUC that I have tested since Asus took over the NUC division from Intel. So is this still a worthy platform for mini PCs? Well, let's dive in and see if this Asus branded NUC is a good fit for home lab use or just another mini PC. Let's dive in. The NUC brand for years now has been synonymous with mini PCs and very performant mini PCs. In fact, arguably the Intel NUC started this whole craze over mini PCs. But since Intel has retired its assembly line when it comes to NUC devices, Asus has picked up the line, and the Asus NUC 14 Pro continues that legacy. It's compact, powerful, and packed with modern features. So let's talk about the specs for this Asus NUC 14 Pro. First, I want to cover the fact that the Asus NUC 14 Pro comes in both a low profile or short design and a tall design. The tall design adds room for a 2.5-inch SSD drive, which I think for home lab enthusiasts is definitely going to be the model that you will want to pull the trigger on if you decide on the NUC 14 Pro. It comes with several processor options, including the Core Ultra 7, Ultra 5, and Core 3, paired with Intel Arc graphics on select models. The unit I have for review has the Intel Core Ultra 7 155H processor, dual channel DDR5 memory, which can go up to 96 gigs, flexible storage with the M.2 2280 PCI Gen 4 NVMe SSD and an M.2 2242 slot, as well as support for that 2.5-inch SSD that we mentioned in the tall version, which is the version that I'm reviewing. Physically, the NUC 14 Pro sticks with the classic 4x4 design that we've come to expect from NUCs. It's very small, but it has a lot of I/O options. On the front, we've got USB-A and USB-C ports, along with the power button. The rear gives you HDMI, USB-A, USB-C, and a 2.5 gig Intel i226V network adapter. Now on that front, the obvious downside with the networking is that it only has a single network adapter. Dual adapters would have been great, especially for our home lab enthusiasts looking to segment your traffic or set up virtual networks, bonding, etc. So those multiple network adapters really come in handy, whether it's VMware ESXi or Proxmox. One of the standout features, I think, of the Asus NUC 14 Pro is its toolless design. Instead of unscrewing the bottom lid, there's a lever that you pull to open up the lid for easy access to the internals, and this makes accessing everything really a breeze. And I wish more mini PC vendors would adopt similar access mechanisms as opposed to having to remove numerous screws just to get into the internals to swap things out like RAM and install NVMe drives. Inside, looking at the internals, you will find dual RAM slots, 2 NVMe slots, and in the tall version, space for that 2.5-inch SSD. Asus also includes a handy plastic retainer for the NVMe drive instead of a screw, which again, I think makes swapping drives super fast and easy and goes along with the overall toolless design with this mini PC. So I do think that those features really stand out in this Asus NUC 14 Pro. Now let's talk about power consumption. I ran a few tests and the results were really nice for the NUC 14 Pro. At idle, the 14 Pro consumes as little as 10.5 watts in my testing, and it would creep up to around 12 watts, but then go back down to 10.5 watts. Now using the STUI utility and Linux Stress utility, I was able to top out the CPU at around 80.5 watts. Now that's pretty efficient for this kind of power that you get from a mini PC such as this. You get a lot of CPU cycles, a lot of ability to run many different types of virtual environments. And one of the big questions that I get for home lab users is, can it run VMware ESXi and Proxmox? The answer, thankfully, with the NUC 14 Pro is yes. Thanks to the Intel i226V network adapter, you have both the option to run VMware ESXi as well as Proxmox VE very smoothly, no driver issues. However, as most of you know, with VMware ESXi, you do need to enter that boot parameter to avoid the purple screen of death caused by the hybrid CPU architecture. Now that we've pressed Shift+O, we're going to enter the boot parameter that is needed to avoid the purple screen. So space after what it already has, the run weasel CD-ROM boot space CPU uniformity hard check panic equals false, and then simply hit enter. And once we do that, we're going to notice that ESXi will be able to boot normally, and you won't see the purple screen of death. So once we get to the splash screen is normally when we see that purple screen. So once you get there and you don't see the purple screen, you'll know that the boot parameter has worked successfully and correctly. Now, once you get past that, it is smooth sailing thanks to the fact that it has the Intel i226V network adapter. Okay, I want to just go over some of the hardware information and specifications inside of Proxmox running on this Asus NUC 14 Pro. As you can see, I don't have a whole lot running. I just have done some initial testing and running a few workloads. I've got an LXC container, but I want to show you guys the horsepower really of this NUC 14 Pro. You've got 22 processors, so lots of CPU power available to you. I've only got the stock amount of memory, the 32 gigs of memory that came in the unit, and just stuck a NVMe drive that I used for testing inside of this NUC 14 Pro. But as you can see here, we got 22 times the Intel Core Ultra 7 155H processor. And Proxmox correctly identifies this as one socket. One oddity that has presented itself in my testing of now only 2 of the Intel Ultra CPUs is the fact that in VMware ESXi, it identifies the Core Ultra CPUs as 2 sockets. And then the threads are, as you would expect, uniformly split down the middle. So I'm not sure what the difference is in the way that VMware ESXi identifies the hardware and that CPU architecture. And it's only with the Core Ultra CPUs. The other Intel hybrid CPU architectures that I've tested with mini PCs and ESXi all present themselves as you would expect as a single socket. So just note that there is that bit of difference when you run Proxmox versus VMware ESXi on these Core Ultra CPUs. I've had no issues with stability or any other issues with Proxmox Virtual Environment 8.2.7, which is the latest as of the making of this video, and everything has ran perfectly smoothly. Not had any issues whatsoever. It is very, very snappy. And as I mentioned earlier, the power consumption is really great. The CPU idles down very nicely, and so there are no weird throttling issues or any of the issues that I've seen with some CPUs and mini PCs on both VMware ESXi or Proxmox Virtual Environment. So what is my verdict with this little mini PC? Well, let's quickly run through the pros and cons of the Asus NUC 14 Pro. On the pros side, the NUC 14 Pro features a powerful multi-core processor. It supports DDR5 memory, which allows you to go all the way up to 96 gigs of memory. And the tall version has great storage options with dual M.2 slots and a space for a 2.5-inch SSD drive. Now, it's also very power efficient and offers easy access with its toolless design. Now, as for the cons, there's only one network adapter, so you're going to be limited a bit on networking, what you can do on that front. And the hybrid CPU architecture does require that extra configuration ESXi. It does have the toolless bottom lid, but this I found could be tricky to actually align and get sealed back properly. And also keep in mind with that those two M.2 slots, that one of those is a 2242 M.2 slot. So that will limit your options there with storage for that particular slot just a bit. Now, in summary, the NUC 14 Pro is a fantastic mini PC for home lab environments, especially the tall version and its added storage options. So if you're looking for a mini PC for ESXi Proxmox that has a compact design yet a powerful processor, I think this NUC 14 Pro really fits that bill. It's very power efficient as well, so if you want to run this thing 24/7 by 365, it shouldn't have a tremendous impact on your energy bill at the end of the month. I also really like the toolless design, and all in all, I think the Asus NUC 14 Pro really captures the essence of the Intel NUC mini PCs. Many of the aspects that we come to love about the NUC series of mini PCs that ushered in this whole era of mini PCs and home labs and all of those things that we really love about mini PCs when we're looking at running servers, virtualization, and other home projects. Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more home lab content on virtualization how to. Please do stay safe out there, keep on home labbing, and I will catch you on the next one.